Uranium friends, let's look at some builders and some picks and shovels plays on this uranium trade. So BWXT Technologies. Yeah, I talked about. I remember when this was happening, and I didn't buy the dip. I got greedy. I wanted more, and well, I missed it. So what? Whatever. You know why? Because I know that BWXT is going to do this again at some point. It's going to do this again. It's done it, right? So um, maybe I'll catch the dip on it. But these guys, nuclear contracts, they buy for they build for the Navy too. So these guys are legit. It's a legit company. They are builders of nuclear power plants for the United States government, and they pay a dividend, and they've got a pretty insane monthly chart, right? So there's nothing not bullish about this chart. RSI is absolutely meaningless as far as I'm concerned because look at it. This is a monthly chart, right? So, and this is not like the one that gets traded and all that. It's just a great grinding stock. So, and it basically says since the thing's been alive, since this stock has been in existence, dip buys are absolutely the way to go, and I don't see anything different on the next move. So comes back to back test 107, 108, 105, 100. The chart says that's just opportunity. So this thing likes to ride this blue line on the weekly, right? It likes to dip back down to it. So this $100 range, um, it's dip buy territory, but that's BWXT. It does pay a dividend. I think that long term, fundamentally, it's probably one of the better plays as the nuclear power plant builders because, well, like I said, well established builder, government contracts. Good to keep an eye on it, especially for to anchor a portfolio. One would think that BWXT is one of those great anchor stocks. ASPI. So these guys do a lot of nuclear isotopes and radiation stuff and yada yada. Anyway, this value area defined for the life of the stock. It's just got one heck of a bounce off of it. It's ASPI. That's your daily. Let's look at the monthly. It's not a lot of data on the monthly, so but yeah, these lows are set obviously. Um, it took out this monthly too, which is interesting. With zero. I mean, it just pushed right up through it. So it's gotten through this key level. I guess one could say, hey, we have to be aware of this weekly head and shoulders type of look. Right? That's that. Come on. Right? And then you're starting to come back to that area. So you would want to be aware of that. I mean, I guess, to make it look like it's supposed to look. Sorry. And I mean, it's the levels to the T right now. So it's 490. I'll tell you the exact. That is 477. What is this high here? 497. So we're there for this head and shoulders pattern. Um, big impulsive volume. It's not running hot into this. Yes, head and shoulders are one of the most. I think there's like 75 to 80% confirmation rate on these patterns. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but that's the only thing that I would be aware of with ASPI. Everybody knows I've posted my entries on it. They were down in here. I posted some partial my exits. I am still in half position off of this trade, whatever it was. Offhand, I don't know. I think my cost basis literally is 288 if I'm not mistaken. But I called it out on Twitter, and I also called out my trims. So, yeah, I'm hanging on to it, the other half, and I'm looking to buy and reload that other half when opportunity presents. Yeah, running a little bit hot into this move, a little bit of wickiness, but I suspect. Again, this one hasn't been found. It doesn't have an option chain yet either. Look out if this thing gets an option chain. Um, small cap, but you know, the business model seems pretty good. So I keep an eye on it, and I probably will try to be a bit of a holder on positions, you know, and I know where I really want to be doing insta buys, that's for sure, right? That's why I draw these boxes. ASPI looks great. I would just be aware of this potential for this head and shoulders look, and there's gonna be guys who think they're really smart and go, well, it's not because it's neckline, whatever. Okay, you got these the concept of the triple top or the second high, the shoulders. It's there, all right. It's not a pure technical pattern because of this angled neckline, but that's the stuff that I'm looking at right now. So the 490, because if it takes out 495 bucks, it's gone. You know, it's going. It's reasonable to assume it's going to take the all-time high out. That's the way I see it with ASPI. What's next? LEU, which is an insane move. And I've talked about this one in videos as well, right? Because again, this value area box, it has some importance since, you know, the summer of 2013, right? So price remembers, the market remembers, but it's through all of this. So resistance is just waned. You'll start to see something up here. Uh, who knows what happens, right? But there's no resistance. It loses all its volume profile resistance. So what you really have to do is then start to look at levels. And it took out, you know, it's testing these levels here, which have importance all across the name. So probably dip buys, but LEU is a strange beast as far as just price action is concerned. It always goes further than I think, and it always dips further than I think. So, but I'll stick with my boxes on this one and my key levels, right? So 50, 60 bucks. It's going to be pretty good. And we've talked about it. I've talked about it with UC1. We did have some October calls, $60 calls, and I think him and I both did pretty darn good. They've expired. I sold into it. I'm not really looking to hold shares of LEU in this particular scenario. I'd rather hold shares like down in here. But LEU looks fantastic. Fuel cycle, reliant on Russian enriched fuel. They got their exceptions. So we'll see how that plays out. You know, until the U.S. gets the fuel chain, enrichment chain figured out, you know, LEU will probably still be buying Russian enrichment unless Russia decides to do something about that. Time will tell. That will skyrocket the stock if they do, or might kill it. Actually, I don't know. It's weird to see how this thing reacts. So, nice long period of consolidation into a move, right? So this is what happens with stocks across every sector. You get these long sideways grinds. When you're talking about like 3 years of sideways action, you know, when they get out of them, they get out of them. So LEU is on the cusp of doing that. You know, I would say that the 140 level, there's going to be trouble there, but it's possible it gets up there as far as the chart's concerned, right? You got the interaction here. You got this top here. It's possible. Lightbridge, what a move. We saw it here. Like this was the signal, but it's Lightbridge, right? So it crushes souls. And if you look at this monthly chart, nothing has changed as far as the rejection dynamic of this chart right now. So this monthly 50 EMA is such a huge, huge, huge factor in what we think might happen with this name. I mean, this could be a big reversal for this name if it gets through and back tests. But again, value areas with this gold line as a metric, and it's just clear to see the rejections since '07, right? Since January '08. What is this? December '07. really, the rejections are still even further, right? So I don't know why I did that. So you have to take these moving averages as what they are. I mean, the rejections all across. So that really started rejecting this EMA since January of '07. You know, you've had your little peekaboos, um, but that's been the rejection spot. So imagine that changes now, right? And starts to use it as support. LTBR could be in for a very good, long, sustained run, and the fundamentals support a big reversal here, right? A grinding long term reversal. The nuclear fuel chain in the United States. And these guys have technology to feed the SMRs. So this is likely, the technicals are not confirming the move here yet. They're just getting a good bounce like Lightbridge has had multiple times in the past 4 years. Nothing different about this bounce, by the way, other than the fact it's all one candle. It wasn't a grindy bounce, and it's a huge amount of volume. But you saw a huge amount of volume here, right? Saw a huge amount of volume here. What happened? All rejections, all retraced almost 100% of the moves. This one, even much, much more. So um, that's Lightbridge. I'll likely be a dip buyer, but I'm not going to be rushing to be a dip buyer. I'll figure it out as time goes on, as I pay attention to some of these fundamentals. But for me, uh, taking out this 50 EMA, this gold line, which it has been riding down since January, really November of, well, let's just say January of '06. All right. Since January of '06, it's been riding this metric down, and every bounce it's gotten to try to get above it, it's rejected. It's reasonable to say it's going to do the same exact thing now. Um, if it changes, then there's a material long-term change in this name as far as price action is concerned, and I will be paying attention to that. That's the way I'm looking at Lightbridge. NLR is a low liquid ETF, and they've got a lot of the builders in it as well. It's making some good moves. So you are getting buying pressure from these ETFs because there's another one, NUKZ, which has some of these utilities in it. I got to put that on my watch list, and this one doesn't have the price data that NLR has, but it's seeing the buying pressure, which means they're flywheeling into these nuclear power plant builders and the fuel enrichment guys and all that stuff. So you're seeing that with these much smaller ETFs. One would think that these smaller ETFs might get bigger. So this is on my radar for sure. I want to see how the liquidity is with nukes because NLR is just it's tough. But again, things might have changed with the builders, right? So everybody's been focused, hyper focused on the miners and trying to get their moonshots or whatever. What if the moonshots are in these builders? We don't know that yet, but there's volume. Look at NLR's volume on the week. I would say that is record volume. Well, you had some over here too, right? So you've got some monster volume. That is record volume this week that this name has ever seen since it's been around. It's been around since 2008. It is also breaking out. Right? So pay attention. Nano nuclear again. Some other. I know these fundamental guys are saying it's garbage. They can't. They're not going to do a thing. Well, maybe, maybe not. But all that I know is it's one heck of a weekly stair step up. Right. So the key level is 1516 right now at that double weekly bottom. So if it loses that level, that will be a technical change, right? So the weekly higher low that's been occurring since early September, well, that metric will change if we lose this level here, the 1516, which is the 12 weekly 12 EMA also. Likely a buy spot. We'll see. Really low float on this thing. This thing whips around a lot, so it's a little bit tougher. So here's this fib run. It retraced to 50%. Um, reasonable to assume that if it's going to bounce and do its its Fibonacci thing, it could get up to like 26, right? So you're going to get there's a lot of volume. There's some bag holders up here in this 26 to 28 range that we would have to be aware of. But that's what nano nuclear looks like. Not enough data on the monthly, in my opinion, but monthly level. I mean, the market in general is saying that 650, 645. That's the area where where there's just seeing buyer acceptance here, right? You can see that here. So will it get back there? I don't know. Probably eventually, right? So this things cool off. The hype slows down. Don't be the ones that are buying in the trail of tears. And if you are, make sure that you have a protective plan in place. Right? To me, that's either trailing stops or so Oklo. Sam Altman, he's behind this thing, and he touches things and they turn to gold. So Oklo, which is in blue sky breakout as well, with a little bit of some wickiness, right? Running hot into this resistance break. This was options, I think. There was a lot of 20s expiring on Friday. And I did post it somewhere on Twitter. Maybe I was replying to Timu, but I said this was probably going to get pinned. It got pinned. Same deal though. Look at this is a change in character, right? You see this volume. It's a change in character. Starting to say, hey, look at me, right? SPACs, all the SPAC people might be out by now. It's free to run. Sellers are gone. Who knows? Blue sky breakout. So when blue sky breakouts occur, dip buys will be the soup du jour. So I will be a dip buyer. I made a lot of money on the calls, but I'm all out at this point. My calls were going to start getting some theta decay, and I'm not really just buy the dip again. That's all that matters to me. And if it goes without me, it goes without me. I know within the next 6 months to a year, I'm probably going to get a shot at getting a good setup on this name again. But that's the beauty of playing the space in general. You have a lot of choices. So that's the deal, though. Oklo's had a great run. It's in blue sky breakout, little bit of a rejection, back test of the breakout level, and maybe it'll be on its way. Plenty of room on the RSI, right? Oklo on a weekly does not care about the RSI being hot, so let's not be too concerned about RSI, especially in blue sky breakouts. RSI is not near, as I've said many times, RSI is not the biggest factor for me. It's certainly much less of a factor when we're in blue sky breakout, right? So that doesn't mean you don't see exactly what you see here, right? This would be technically called the blue sky breakout that occurred in May of 24. Look at the rejection. So you have to be prepared. Oklo is really low float. D-SPAC. I think all the D-SPACers are gone now. Very typical of a SPAC to do stuff like this anyway, but great move. Bring in the volatility. The volume and the volatility is entering the conversation on these builders. So that's going to bring the traders. And when the traders come in, that is going to bring the volatility. That is going to give you dip buy opportunities and resistance sell opportunities. So there will be people starting to look to short these things as much as there will be people looking to buy the dips. The nature of the bulls and the bears, right? So wickiness on the daily in the past couple of days. I did post. I'm starting to see some activity on the put on the option chain. The positioning into puts. I bought some 14s. I forget their expiry, uh, but I'm protecting some call positions. I have some call spreads on, and I have some naked calls. Well, not naked. I have uncovered calls. I didn't sell against yet. I have $15 calls for January. I've sold most of them, but I'm still holding a partial position just to see how that plays out. So I am protecting with my puts, but SMR blue sky breakout. Same with Oklo, blue sky breakout. Nano, not yet. All right. So yes, very good. Is there any other No, that's it on my watch list, I guess. Yeah. So that's it for the builder. Silx, another interesting company. I do have an investment in this one. I bought somewhere. I don't know where the hell I bought it. Somewhere down in here. I bought it in. Actually, bought it on the ASX. I have it in Australian dollars. But look at this. To me, Silx is ready. Is it's going to be ready to make a move here. It's just churning at this resistance. This is really, really nice. Silx should be on the radar. These guys do the laser enrichment. Uh, CCJ has a piece of this whole business. GLE. The chart looks real. This monthly chart looks great. So yeah, keep your eye on Silx. This is really great chop in front of this next major resistance level. All right, over and out.